and welcome to another Shooting the Shit. This is our, well, I keep calling it a podcast, but it's not a podcast, is it? It's a Facebook Live about women in business, feminism business, all the things around in that. With us three again. Who are you both?
Hannah.
Marisha.
I'm Rachel. So today we are going to talk about clothing. Last week we were going to talk about.
Next week, can we do it so we go, I'm Rachel, I'm Hannah, I'm Marisha, and we are shooting the shit, and we'll say
no, we cannot. I was just thinking that seems like a really terrible kids program. Like, hi.
Oh, we're like those YouTubers, aren't we? Subscribe, guys.
Hi, guys.
Bye, guys.
Anyway, so forgetting all of that. We're going to talk about clothing, women and clothing in the workplace, because we didn't get onto it last week. Last week we were talking about language, and that took a whole 45 minutes. So today we're going to talk about clothing and all the issues that surround this. So a lot of us have been told to wear certain types of clothing in the workplace. So how does that affect us? What do we think? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Are the days of telling women what to wear in the workplace gone? Is this a female-only issue, or are men subject to the same thing? So I was reading an article. This is the length of research we do for this session. I was reading an article from the Financial Times just before we came on air. And they were saying that a lot of women are still expected to wear stilettos in the workplace. Discuss.
Let me see. What workplace is telling women to wear stilettos?
Well, apparently, so there was an edict in Japan which said that women still had to wear stilettos in the workplace. Apparently, some feminists did protest about this, but also I don't know if you remember, there was a court case here, and it wasn't that long ago. It was probably about 2 years ago, of a woman whose boss told her that she had to wear stilettos in the workplace or she would get fired, and she took it to the court of whatever the court is, Supreme Court or Human Rights Court or wherever, and it was determined that she didn't have to wear stilettos in order to do her job, but I think she got fired after a few months anyway, for some other reason. So yeah, have you, because what the article was saying was, I don't know if you remember, is it Working Girl with Melanie Griffiths, that film from the 80s? Where she like runs in on the tube, whatever the tube's called in New York, in her trainers, and then as soon as she gets into work, she has to put her stilettos on. How many women still do that?
I know loads. Well, no, I know loads that do that.
Yeah.
Do you?
I do. Is that though because they feel that they have to, or that it's part of the look? I don't know. I think there's a couple of things, isn't there? I think there are industries where I guess people have to wear a certain thing, or it's almost, is it airlines, I think, as well, and something like that, they used to have like quite strict rules for what's worn, etc. But others, I think, is purely a comfort thing. If you're dashing around London, and you put some trainers on and then put your proper shoes on when you get there or whatever. But I don't know if that's because they're told.
We had a friend who went. She got an interview as an airline hostess. I can't remember. It was for that the posh one from Dubai. Is it Emirates? UAE, that was it. And she went for she flew all the way out to Dubai for this interview to be an airline hostess. And when she got there, they said, if you've got any tattoos, you can get back on the plane and go home now. And she had tattoos, so she had to get back on the plane and go home. And that was the end of that. So you're absolutely right. Certain jobs do expect a certain level of dress code and presentation and behaviour. Is that necessary then?
Yeah, I think so. I used to work in a school, and it was expected in the school that you would dress very professionally, which is something, to be fair, that I always struggled with, just because I don't know what that means, and I don't like being uncomfortable. And so, but that was so that children got to see what it looked like to put on restrictive, uncomfortable clothing every day and go to work dressed in a suit and tie, because not every child has got a role model that they see going to work in formal wear. So And then when I left education, when I left working in education and went into the workplace, it was much more relaxed. And now, you know, in my own business, it's even more relaxed. And I would imagine my next job, I'll be wearing my pajamas. So, but I think it's important that you show children in education that some people, you know, some people wear a uniform, some people wear formal business attire. And I think it just all goes in part and parcel to raising aspirations. But I don't think that necessarily needs to be, right, lasses, you're in high heels and pencil skirts, which it never was, to be fair. I was never told that. But I think it's equally hard on men, dress codes, but equally important.
I mean, I suppose the thing is that men have, you know, there's a suit, isn't there? That's it. It's a suit, is workwear, and it's, you know, jeans and a t-shirt is not workwear. So there's less of a choice for them. There's less of a, I don't want to say stigmatization, but it's less of an issue, isn't it? It's like, you know, if there's a dress code at work, you wear a suit and it's a standard thing, and there's proper flat Oxford brogues, and that's basically it. Whereas for women, there's still a lot more wrapped up in all of that, isn't there? About, you know, stilettos and pencil skirts and tight dresses. I know when Dali used to work at this company in Manchester.
Oh, he loved his pencil skirts. Always in his tight dresses.
I went there. Yeah, this place in Manchester that was full of 20-somethings, and I just had Leon, so I put 5 stone on when I was pregnant with Leon, and I went to the interview that they had, and honestly, it was all, every single woman that worked there looked like a model, and they were all wearing tiny, very tight dresses and the most humongous high heel shoes, and that was an expected dress code. You know, people who didn't conform to that, women, were sent home. They were sacked for other reasons, obviously, but essentially you didn't fit the mold, so you weren't part of the company. And I think that is still an expected thing. So there's a lot more, I feel there's a lot more tied up in it for women than there is for men. I don't know. What do you think, Marisha?
I think it depends on the type of business it is, because I had a conversation about not this exactly, but workwear, if you like, the other day, and you know, I think there's you know, I guess there are expectations both for male and female, but the conversation was about those, I guess, in the creative industry, because you said there that, you know, okay, a suit is workwear, jeans and you know, a t-shirt is not. However, actually, you know, it is deemed acceptable, you know, whatever that is, quote unquote, for a creative to go in jeans and a t-shirt because they're expressing themselves or whatever it is. Yeah. But I do disagree with that to an extent. You know, I wouldn't expect someone to go into a business meeting wearing flip-flops, doesn't matter what the fuck they do. Do you know what I mean? It's you know, there are still expectations, I guess. So I think there is a little bit of that for men, and yeah, maybe not as much, but you know, on the flip side, there's the, you know, what type of shoes. They've still got, you know, same kind of questions, but they're great. You know, they've not got different body shapes, I guess, you know, to kind of fit in like we kind of had.
It's true though, isn't it? We still judge, like I can look at, if I walk into a networking meeting, a business meeting or whatever, and you can tell a lot about a man by the shoes that they're wearing, can't you? And we still judge men by what shoes they're wearing. So yeah, the same expectations are on them, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think from a female perspective, my issue is being that I don't fit that, you know, expected mold, i.e., you know, thin girl with, you know, everything in proportion, etc. Got massive boobs, massive arse, and so you put
massive
the same
job.
all of it.
So at least you're balanced out.
But it's just like, you know, if you put me in the same clothes as the next chick, actually they're going to look completely different, and probably you know, I might be hanging out all over the place, overly sexual. Do you know what I mean? Just because I don't suit that same kind of thing. So there's all sorts of things tied up in clothing for sure.
So have either of you ever been told that your dress wear is inappropriate or that you need to dress differently?
I've been told I wasn't formal enough, which I think was probably a fair cop. I've had lewd remarks made to me when I've been wearing just what I would consider normal professional clothes, just because of the shape I am. As you point out to literally everyone that will listen, Rachel, I have big tits, and in any top, they're fairly indecent. So, but other than that, no, I wouldn't say anyone's ever pulled me aside and said, Hannah, you're wearing men's shoes, like you're in brogues, go and put on some heels. Probably because they know that they get told no.
Yeah, we're coming back to that kind of position of privilege, and you're tall as well, aren't you? So I wonder if you're able to sort of operate on that male sphere, for want of a better way of putting it. Yeah, you look very manly, don't you, Hannah?
What the hell is this? I'm not sure I want to be on this chat today. It's just like slagging each other. Jesus Christ.
I wonder if basically, nobody's had the balls to tell you that you should be dressing differently. And that's the issue. Has anyone ever told you, Marisha?
No, I don't think so. I think maybe people don't have to say, sometimes as well. I guess if you're in an environment or in a certain environment, it doesn't have to be said sometimes. But I think that, it's a difficult one because we all judge each other. What is it? You've got, 7 seconds or whatever it is to make a decision about somebody. And clothes fit into that, whatever it is, whatever colour, whatever style, everything. But I guess, the airline conversation is maybe it's clear, isn't it? It's if you don't meet this, then it doesn't fit. It's as simple as that. And I guess you could kind of look at that as well. Okay, well, then straight off. Whereas I think everything else is kind of left to interpretation, which then makes that could make it a little bit difficult because what is informal for one person might be really formal for the next. So I think that whole, interpretation thing is quite difficult then because actually you have got something to say to somebody because you think it's inappropriate, then you're in the world of potentially, upsetting somebody, and things like that. It's a bit of a minefield, really.
It is. And like you say, there are certain industries that have a really clear dress code and they outline that from the beginning and you know exactly what you get. In airlines, it's what, but things like the police force, there's certain public services, they have a dress code that is set out in your contract of employment. So you at least have guidelines. But in terms of that, so neither of you have been explicitly told that you need to dress differently. Have either of you ever been in a situation where you felt you were dressed incorrectly?
Yes, almost every day in my old job. Not a single fuck was given.
And why did you feel that? Why did you feel that way?
Because I wasn't wearing, I wasn't in a pencil dress and I wasn't in high heels and, I was wearing like trousers and a jumper and brogues. And I thought I looked nice, and I thought I looked professional, and I would never want to. I just can't imagine ever wearing something so sexualized, I suppose, for work. Mm. What about you, Rachel? Have you ever been told to dress differently?
No, I've been told that I needed to dress a bit smarter, but mainly that was because I had a hole in the pants that I was wearing.
The crotch.
It wasn't in the crotch. It was at the back, but I was very poor at that.
What, right in the back, like.
Yeah, they had a hole in them, and I'd patched them in another place. So someone did tell me I had to dress a bit smarter. So again, that was fair enough.
Yeah.
But I remember I have walked into networking meetings before where the women there have been dressed very, very, like say, pencil skirt and stiletto shoes, and I wasn't. But after the first 10 minutes, somebody else arrived who was also wearing Doc Martens and was covered in tattoos, so that was all right. And again, I have these moments where I suddenly think, oh, I'm not smart enough. I'm not meeting that standard. But then I tell myself that it doesn't matter. But I still have that thought process. I still go through it every single time and think, am I all right? And then
the answer is yes, you're all right.
Well, it is, but I mean, it's still that thing of it still affects your self-confidence. It's making us question ourselves when we walk into a room to say, are we dressed appropriately? And do men walk into rooms wondering, am I dressed appropriately? That's what I'd like to know.
I mean, I think you could keep your fucking shoes on in a meeting. That would go a long way.
Yeah, I've never done that though.
She takes her shoes and socks off in meetings, Marisha.
No, if I'm wearing socks, I don't take my socks off. But if I've got sandals on, I take my sandals off, but I don't put socks on. So I do sit in meetings.
Barefoot in meetings, Marisha. Tell her.
I can't. Do you know why? Because literally last week I had a conversation about whether I wear socks or not. It was a hoo-ha. I do like to take my shoes off at any available time. So I'm sorry, I'm in the Rachel camp, I'm afraid.
Yes,
barefoot and all sorts. I'd much rather be barefoot at all times. I've even been barefoot or ridiculously high heels that I still can't walk in. Shoes for sitting down in. I do like a nice shoe. I can't walk very far.
This is it. I love shoes and I love buying them and I love putting them on for the first 5 minutes of getting somewhere, but then they hurt, so I'm going to take them off, and that's it. And even comfy shoes, I will take them off. I think as well, it was like drilled into us as kids that you don't wear shoes inside. When I walk through a door, I feel I need to take my shoes off. So even in like the office, once I get through the door, I have to take my shoes off, else I just feel weird wearing shoes inside. So yeah, that's why. But I don't think there's anything wrong going barefoot into me. Again, it's that thing of you take me as I am, but then again, I don't second guess that because I've just always done that. Even like when I worked at the NHS, everywhere I've worked, I've taken my shoes off as soon as I've got somewhere. So that's just sort of a me thing. It's like I wear a scarf. Oh, I'm going on today, and I don't wear shoes. So I don't question that, but I would question like I'm not wearing a dress. Why am I not wearing a dress? I'm wearing baggy trousers and a baggy top, basically.
Good Lilla. Well,
yeah, exactly.
Colleagues care.
Don't you think that all of this stuff kind of like, also ties into, individuality and being comfortable and things like that?
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot to be said for, okay, you can dress formally, but you can put your own style to it, or you can put your own stamp on it. So you still fit within whatever it is you're supposed to be fitting in, I guess.
Absolutely. So the question then is, in that case, is this a pressure that we're putting on ourselves? Is it because, of women's magazines and whatever that we feel we have to dress in a certain way? Or do you think, I don't know, have either of you ever asked a man about this? What do they think? Do they expect us to dress in a certain way?
Well, I've not asked the man what they think about what women wear at work because, couldn't give less of a fuck. But I have interviewed many web developers, and the general rule of thumb there is the more senior and accomplished they are, the more slob-like they are. So if you get like a dirty, smelly man generally come in for an interviews in like stained joggers, he's going to be the shit. Because they get so senior and so sought after, they don't have to care anymore.
Do you think that's their position, or do you think that's their age? Do you think that young men care more about their appearance than old men?
No, I think that's their position. They work up to it. It's like a culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, in terms of are we doing it to ourselves or is it being done to us? I don't think employers particularly say anymore, like, you need to put makeup on and you need to brush your hair and stuff. I think if you ever shopped for workwear and you go to like Next or H&M or something like that, for women, it's sexual. Like it's tight trousers and high heels and cut jackets and low cut tops, silky tops and stuff that cling. And yeah, I think there's a expectation on women to always be slightly sexual, or you're wrong.
Even in Asda, if you go to Asda or Tesco and go and look around their workwear sections, it's all like that, that material that's got lycra in it so that it's tight. Even trousers and everything, it's all tight.
Tight on your ass, skirts, pencil skirts. Why are they the accepted workwear? What if I want to wear a Hawaiian grass skirt to work, or like
cold?
Yeah, say Twiggy. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who decided pencil skirts, tight pencil skirts, were the workwear for women, or or dresses that were cut to hug your arse and tits were the acceptable workwear for women. Who decided that? The patriarchy decided that.
Yes.
Yeah, oh my God, we're on to one. Before we get there, before you two go off on one, is it not like, when you look back a little bit, because I've just finished binge watching Mad Men before it dropped off of Netflix.
Oh my God, I love Mad Men.
Yeah, but it's almost like the women are there just to titillate the men. Do you know what I mean? They're there, they have a certain role, and that's it. And that includes looking good on reception, and all of that kind of stuff. So maybe it's a big old hangover from that. Even though we don't have that kind of attitude as much. Not saying it's not there anymore, but maybe it's a hangover.
It's an absolute, I think that's absolutely right, because again, I think we touched on this last week, but when you look at kind of history of women in the workplace, and I'm talking about throughout the 20th and 21st century, when a woman got married, she had to leave work. So women who were usually in the workplace, unless they were like the old maids whose husbands had died, so they were free again, they were young unmarried women, and they were there to be the secretaries and to be the eye candy, and potentially as like wives for the men. So that they could see what good of a dinner party creator they'd marry by the time they finally got around to somebody. So, that's exactly what they were there for. They were there to be ornate and to be decorative, and yes, to do a little bit of typing on the side, but mainly as eye candy. So it's, you can see where this has come from, that women were sexual objects in the workplace as much as anywhere else, weren't they?
Yeah, I think they still are.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, yeah. I mean, in my industry, I think, because it's heavily male orientated, obviously. There is the standing joke, I guess, in the industry with the men have a certain look, they dress a certain way, and the women is you're one or the other almost.
Yes.
You are a one that knows what they're doing and is a ball breaker, whatever that is, whether that's what you are. Basically because you know what you're doing, which is a bit of a shame. Or you are, you're there to be pretty on the stand, and to get the men in, to talk to and things like that. And it makes me sad to see that, in industry, because I think, well, we don't have to be like that. We don't have to, it's definitely doesn't need to be that for you to get attention. Do you know what I mean? You should be confident. Maybe it all comes down to that. It's about confidence. It's about having the right people around you to be able to learn, and so you feel confident and know what you're talking about when you're walking into a place. There's all sorts of other things that come with how you also dress. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, self-confidence is a massive thing, and I think you can tell that about somebody, can't you? If they're not dressed the way you expect, but they're absolutely using self-confidence, that comes across. Do you think either of you have ever been judged on your performance based on how you dress? So do you think anybody's ever underestimated you or overestimated you because you haven't been dressed like that kind of typical dolly girl way?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Or maybe I'm just completely oblivious to it.
Yeah. That's the thing, isn't it? How would we know? I mean, I've been underestimated many, many, many times, but I don't know whether I'm being underestimated because I'm wearing Doc Martens or because I'm a girl, and that or I've got a facial piercing. I don't know what people are judging me on. That's the thing, isn't it? Well, maybe it's just the whole thing.
Yeah,
maybe it's you not got your shoes on.
Maybe.
I sense an issue here. Take off my clothes.
You can't do your job properly though if you're not wearing shoes. It's an incontrovertible fact of life.
I just moved to a bell end. I don't think I've ever been. I can't ever think of a time when I've been under or overestimated because of how I've dressed. But you don't know, do you? I think, especially in our industry, like Marisha, what you're saying is true in ours as well. You're either the dolly bird that they wheel out, or you actually know what you're doing and you're a ball breaker. And we absolutely fall into the second category. But I think I've been underestimated because of the industry or because of my gender or a lot because of my age when I was, younger. But I don't think it ever comes down to what I've worn.
I think the other thing as well that we must say is that I know a lot of women who are incredibly beautiful and do dress like that, and yet are still incredibly good at their job. And I think they are sometimes underestimated because they are dressed in that, typical girly way where they're wearing a short dress and high heels, and yet they have been very, very good at their job, but they are deemed then, they're
good. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Somebody assumes they're just there for a bit of eye candy as well, don't they? So
I think this is more of an issue in a way than us who dress however we want. I think it's more of an issue for the lasses that dress how they want, but in a more kind of polished, maybe sexual way, that they are underestimated because they're just passed off as the bimbos or the office candy or whatever. I think that's more of a problem. Like you don't get that with men. A man could wear an incredibly tight suit and he's not passed off as a bimbo, but that happens to women. I think that's more of a thing.
Yeah, very true. I think there's that's definitely there. I think women sometimes have to just work very hard to be heard, because of what they're wearing or because they might be a little bit different. And I think that's still very much an issue in lots of industries.
I think one thing I have found is that I have found that people underestimate my age a lot. And I don't know whether that's because I wear and I haven't changed my style of clothing for 25 years. I dress the same now as I always have. But I think people tend to assume that I'm in my late 20s, maybe early 30s.
Shut the fuck up.
When I tell people how old I am, they're like, oh. That's because of how I dress, because I haven't started shopping at Marks and Spencer's yet.
Your trousers are not elasticated.
They are a bit elasticated. Yeah, they're a bit elasticated, but they're from New Look, not Marks and Spencer's yet.
People think she's in her late 20s.
Yeah, people who need glasses, obviously.
Yeah, naturally.
I think it's just because black don't crack. That's the thing. It's because we're all ethnics, really. So we've got the genes, but we're never going to age.
Yeah, that's it. Take the elixir of life. So I had another question then, and I've forgotten it now. Oh yeah, that was it. It was about age. So I know we are going to talk about ageism and feminism in a couple of sessions, aren't we? But do you think that there is an age expectation here as well? Do you think as women age, we are expected to start dressing more demurely in the workplace?
Yeah. There's no two ways about it, is there really? Yes.
And you can see that
glam still gets bandied around, doesn't it? And I think by women as much as anybody else, doesn't it?
What phrase?
Not dressed as lamb.
Yeah. Or glamorous granny.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see it when you walk into a shop. There's almost like you can see the clothes aging on the racks. Like you can see, like I once had this top and I really liked it, but I did call it my old lady top because it was, kind of modest, I suppose, like my old lady work top. And it's true, absolutely, that the older a woman gets, the more demurely they're supposed to dress. But that aging process doesn't happen for a man because a man has a shirt and trousers or a suit and tie, or there's no variation for them, and the reason for that is the patriarchy. Like but it is though. You could have a variation of menswear, and you could have much less variation on women's wear, and yet women are supposed to decorate themselves to make themselves look more appealing. Generally, but in the workplace, why? What is the fucking point? We're there for our contributions and our brains and our skills and attributes, just like the men. So they don't get the variety, and we're expected to have more of it.
So Marisha, when are you going to start shopping at Marks and Spencer's?
Hey, I don't discriminate. I'll shop anywhere, me. I'm like, it's all about how you put it together and how you style it out, isn't it, basically? I
must admit, I went into a top shop. I think last year we were shopping for holiday stuff, and me and Dali, we walked into Topshop and we went, I don't think we belong here anymore. We walked straight back out again.
No.
I could fit into the shoes and the handbags in Topshop. That's about it, mate. You know what I mean? But there we are. Is that not the issue? Actually, we've been sized out of these younger shops, because there is no way I could fit into a Topshop top. Absolutely not.
The other thing is, they're all see-through now, aren't they? They're all made of either mesh or like see-through plastic, like you used to back your school books with at school. Like, why do you want to go out dressed like that?
Yeah, why do people want to go out dressed like that? I honestly don't understand it.
You see, we're there, aren't we? Oh, she'll be cold. Ooh.
Yeah, she'll be cold.
Yeah, or incredibly sticky.
Yeah, bloody cold on, love. It's cold. Right, so makeup then. Would either of you go into a meeting without makeup on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I say yeah. No, I probably wouldn't. Not with not a stitch. I might have a teeny tiny bit on, but yeah, nothing.
This is it. Yeah. Until about 4 years ago, I did. I would only wear makeup on a night out. It would never have dawned on me to wear makeup at work. But recently, I just wouldn't. And even all throughout lockdown, I've put my face on Monday to Friday.
Why is that, Rachel? Even though you look like you're in your late 20s, why do you still feel
I mean, that's obviously why, because my makeup skills are so good that I'm giving myself a youthful glow. I'm deceiving people.
No, but seriously, you never wore makeup, even on nights out. You very rarely wore makeup. Why have you started now?
I felt like my skin just started looking older, and I felt like my skin started not like my eyes used to stand out quite well, and my skin started getting a bit mottly and a bit wrinkly and a bit not great, so that my eyes didn't stand out as much. So now I can't overcompensate by using loads of dark coloured eye makeup-y stuff. I'm still not fully in the girl world yet.
Eye stuff.
I buy some sticks of makeup and on a bit. That's it. I still don't know. I mean, I had to text Hannah the other day to ask her, what was it? What's the primer?
Primer.
Yeah, what's primer? What do you use that for? Somebody gave me some, and I was like, I don't know what to do with this.
That's sad. Primer feels like, well, that's like what you put on before you put paint on the wall, isn't it?
That was my answer. It's the undercoat before you put on your paint.
Yeah,
I don't fucking know what you're asking me for.
Well,
all link into confidence and stuff as well, doesn't it? Really, it's all about how you feel yourself, and how you change. My style's changes all the time. I used to wear not a lot of makeup, like, as in caked on, but I'd change it every day. I'd have different earrings in every day and all of that kind of stuff. I just can't be arsed now. As I get, older and blinder, my eyes look even smaller, because of the strength of my bottle end glasses and all of that kind of stuff. And I think you can't fucking see them anyway. So what's the point? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, the thing is, I think Zoom calls, so since lockdown, it's become a little bit worse even, hasn't it? Because now you can see yourself. At least when you were having meetings before, if I look like a dog's arse, I didn't know about it. Whereas now you've got your little face staring back at you all throughout the meeting, haven't you? So
I've worn less in lockdown. I don't wear. I've not. Wore anything really. I think I put a bit on to have some photos done, and that's about it. I've kind of gone the other way actually.
So what about you, Hannah?
In what way?
You've worn less makeup, haven't you? And because you were saying the other day that you put perfume on and stuff the first time. I put perfume on all through lockdown just in case anyone can smell me over Zoom.
Well, how pungent are you? What have you been eating?
A lot of beans.
No, I've never really worn a huge amount of makeup. I've never worn foundation. And I've been into work with no makeup on and would do no problem. I feel like I do look better with makeup on, but I also don't care enough to worry too much about it if I don't have makeup on.
If I've got a tan, I worry much less. I think I look better when I've got a tan, but but I would. So we've mentioned there as well briefly jewelry. I would not, if I go out without 2 sets of earrings in and without my bracelets on, I feel naked. So I'd rather go out with no makeup on than with no jewelry on. But I jangle a lot.
Yeah, so I can't imagine leaving the house without my jewelry on. That's one thing, which pisses people off in the workplace actually, because I jingle and it irritates people.
People say that all the time to me when I'm on the phone. They're always going, "What's that tapping noise?" And that was my earrings. They tap.
Yeah. Do you not wear jewelry then, Marisha?
Not as much as I used to. I've got loads of beautiful jewelry, to be fair, because I do like a statement piece and all of that kind of stuff. But again, I kind of have dropped into that. I just can't really be arsed anymore. And I think a lot of that came from when I was in a job. I didn't actually see anybody outside the office, and I think it just got less and less and less. But I went to a women's networking a few years ago, and there was a lady there that did digi-colours and did the style and all of that kind of stuff. And the chat that she did, it was like a maybe 20-minute presentation. It was all about about those first impressions and things like that. And it really interested me actually, because by trade, if you like, or her day job is in HR, and instantly you get they should look like this kind of vibe from HR. Do you know what I mean? And basically she had on a beautiful jacket and dress and things like that, but had jewelry on and makeup, but not anything that was overly dressed up, if you like. And long story short, as she took the bits off, she explained how it all kind of makes up your dress and things like that. And it amazed me how different she looked when she took all those extra things off. And how that affected her confidence almost, without it being that. But she was like transformed into this little girl, because of how she then kind of felt without all the extra things too. But the main thing for me was actually, because I did have my colours done and things like that, but that was because I got to a place of, I just wanted to have a uniform almost for the day. I missed having a uniform. I used to have one, for a couple of jobs, and I can't be bothered to choose what to wear. I just wanted to look good and having to work on it. So.
It is a thing that as I say, I've been getting kind of dressed up, putting my makeup on Monday to Friday all throughout lockdown, so that I don't slip into any kind of still wearing my pajamas at 3:00 or anything. But that feels to me, that's part of my working routine. Like I get up and I get ready for work. I do my makeup, I put my jewelry on, I put my perfume on, I get dressed, and then I go downstairs and I'm ready to work. And on a Saturday and Sunday I still work, but I don't get ready to that extent, and then it does feel different. And I wonder, women since the dawn of time have adorned their faces and worn jewelry and worn makeup, and I wonder if that is a big part of it. It's getting yourself ready to face the world. And also the other interesting thing about that though is
we'll never know.
It never was just a female thing, was it? If you look back at ancient Egyptians, they wore makeup and jewelry and all sorts as well, didn't they? So, do you think it's just part of our?
Oh, hang on.
I've lost you.
Gone. She's back now. Back now.
Yeah, you're back, Rachel. We can hear you.
Sorry, somebody was ringing me. So obviously, if someone rings me, that knocks me Wi-Fi
out. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's interesting though that women and men, I suppose, but men as well. But through the dawn of time, people have dressed themselves up, like worn makeup, made jewelry, and made attempts to make themselves look better. And not just humans, like every animal, I think, really has some attempt at making themselves attractive to someone for mating, whether it's spreading the peacock feathers or making themselves better. Stop sniggering.
I was thinking that when she was saying that, I was like, oh yeah, that monkey that's just gone past wearing those lovely earrings. That's what what was in my head then.
Yeah, well, they used to wear them little dresses on the telly, didn't they? Those But like having your colours done, Marisha, was this when you were told that you should dress more like a pirate?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, basically, I'm a swashbuckling pirate. But actually, that it was almost like still being able to be formal, but with my own style, if you like. I think that's ultimately what all of that is. And it was just nice to do, actually.
It was interesting that though, because someone came to one of our networking meetings and did that. She did that House of Colour thing, and her first number one rule was never go anywhere without lipstick on. And I was instantly like, I don't, that's the one thing I don't wear. I've never worn lipstick. Well, apart from in the 90s where we all paint our lips blue for some reason.
Yeah.
Since then, I've not worn lipstick. But I was like, well, hang on. If your prerequisite is I've got to wear lippy to even get past first, I was going to say first base, but
right.
First step.
What was she offering?
I don't know. We don't go to the same type of meetings that Rachel does.
Additional services. Anyway, we're coming up to time, girls. We're coming up to time. Sorry, I'm not allowed to call you girls, am I? No, it's very sexy.
Women. Can I just say as well, no shame on women that do want to dress up to the
Of course.
No, absolutely. No judgment whatsoever from us. I mean, this is the thing. The whole premise of it is that we should be able to walk into a business situation feeling comfortable in our own skin. And if that means getting yourself dressed up and doing your face and doing your hair and getting yourself ready to the world, then that's absolutely fine. That's your thing. My thing is going in barefoot. There you go. Right, what are we talking about next week?
I don't know. We'll figure it out next Monday.
We'll work something out, won't we? Thank you very, very much, everybody who's watched. I hope you enjoy this rambling bollocks because we quite enjoy doing it. So I hope you enjoy listening to it. We'll be back next week, same time, 3 o'clock, Facebook Live, shooting the shit.
Bye.